Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Wishing everyone a great month. Next month's really important to all of us here listening and live. It's a Parkinson's Awareness Month, so very exciting time. So much to do. And again, I want to welcome to Q&A with Sharon's son George podcast. I was my mother's caregiver after she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Unfortunately, she passed on 1/1/2020, so we started TogetherForSharon.com in her memory. Today, our guest is somebody I try not to say this every time, but it feels like it, but she's like family. When I started out my journey just a year ago, I mean, I've been doing this for 4 years, but I started really learning more about how Parkinson's affects the world, not just the United States. And I was shocked to see that over 10 million people it affects. So what I did, as everyone probably knows, is we started interviewing people around the world. But what really caught my attention was what my amazing friend Barbara does. So I want to welcome Barbara Salsberg Mathews to the show, and she'll talk more about it. But mime over mine is something that meant a lot to me because I'm a big person growing up into Broadway, performing arts, and just all that she actually is going to talk about. And it's so unique. That's what I look for, even on our podcast. Unfortunately, there's not enough time to interview everyone, so we're pretty selective. And I just really was excited when I started this because she was one of the first people that came to mind. So welcome, Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, George. I think what you're doing is so important. So thank you.
No, I appreciate it. And I tell my wife often that I see you and many of my favorites in the Parkinson's community more than my own family because it's so important to have a voice, but not just have it, to also use it. And that's something that I really commend you, even just this week with your new project with some other individuals who I look up to in the community. Or maybe you can touch on that before we even get into it, what your latest incredible, inspiring movement is.
Yeah, well, right now I'm involved in this project. I'm not sure if you can see it with the camera.
Yep.
It's Mime Over Mind, and I'm very fortunate to have, I've gotten support from the Parkinson Society of Southwestern Ontario. I'm from Ontario, Canada, close to Toronto, as well as the University of Guelph, which is also in Canada. And they've put some funds as well as some bright minds. We've got 4 professors working on this research study, including Dr. Rebecca Barnes-Staples, who studies people with Parkinson's and dance, and also Dr. Lori-Ann Vallis, who studies people with high-intensity intermittent exercise and Parkinson's. And others, Dr. Kim Francis and Dr. Sally Henson. So I'm very fortunate to have their support and their expertise in research, because that's not my area of expertise. My background is education. I was a high school art and drama teacher for decades, and also a corporate trainer and an inventor of interactive training tools. So I'm bringing what I know and is helping people with Parkinson's, hopefully, so it will be a therapeutic tool offered for free to everyone. That's my hope.
No, that sounds amazing. As an educator, I know how important it is not just to learn, but also to give back. And I think you're doing so much to give back, and I'm grateful for that. Can you tell me a little bit, you touched on it, but about yourself, your background, and how your diagnosis with Parkinson's can unfold?
Yeah, well, I'm now a senior citizen. I'm going to be 65, and I'm very proud of that. I'm finally an adult. And so when I retired, I was finding my hand shaking a lot. I painted. I started to go full time as a visual artist. I wanted to now do art for me and to sell my work. But I had trouble with painting. My whole arm got weak and I couldn't hold it up. And then I kept going to my doctor, and I said, something's wrong with me. These are the symptoms. And I was told I'm just aging and to go away. So, okay. This happened a few times over the course of a year and a half. till finally I knew this is wrong. Something is really wrong. I need a specialist. So this time I was sent to a neurologist, and I was told he's retired, but he's come back and he'll be real, you won't have to wait. Well, I wish I had waited longer for someone who was more up on their work, because he was really dangerous, would be the word. I was prescribed a lot of different Parkinson's medication after he made the diagnosis, but without titration. So nothing was gradually introduced or gradually removed. And he kept putting me on this one, that one, right side, left side, and said, mix and match it. You know your body best. And he was regularly putting pressure on me to rate him on a ratemymd.com, because he wanted to be the #1 neurologist in the world. In the meantime, the medications were making me very depressed, and to the point where I did have suicidal thoughts, which is not me, not like me. And I had taken screenshots of the threats and the pressure I kept getting, and shared with my doctor. And he, with another neurologist, came to my rescue and washed my system clean from the poison. And I came to my senses. And it was at that point, George, that I realized that I'm going to do the work that doctor was supposed to do. And I'm going to make it my life mission to help my sister and brothers with PD, and help and support in any way I can. And it started with donating my body to science. I've been on so many research studies, and then I did research as well. And a life-changing book for me was Dr. Norman Dodge's book, The Brain's Way of Healing. And there's a chapter in that book called The Man Who Walked Off His Parkinsonian Symptoms. Mm-hmm. So I studied what this man, John Pepper, very, very brilliant man, and who had Parkinson's, and he broke down what's involved in a walk. So he would break down the isolated shapes of the foot would make, the positions it would go through, and then he'd speed it up and taught himself to walk normally. And then I was thinking, well, I used to be a mime artist. When I was 16, I started studying mime, and I moved to and lived in Paris, France for 1 year to study theater and improvisation in mime, and had a professional theater company. And I said, what John Pepper's doing, as far as I can see, is mime. So I started to use techniques purposefully to override a lot of my annoying symptoms, my annoying Parkinson's symptoms, and it worked. So,
sorry I had to go through all that, but I'm honored that you were able to come out and bring so much positivity. Some people wouldn't be able to do that. Even the trials are tough, because my mother passed obviously from Parkinson, but she was only 69, and the last 4 years, right before she went for a trial, and we think till today we're not sure whether or not they just really changed the medication too drastically. And that night was when I became her caregiver, when I had to rush over at 4 a.m. and she was moving her furniture out of her home due to delusions and hallucinations. And that was where, unfortunately, her need to have a caregiver 24/7 started. But it's just incredible, the story and journey you've gone on. And I love the background, because like I said earlier, I was brought up in New York, and my mother and I love Broadway. So I think I've seen every show from Fiddler on the Roof to Phantom of the Opera. And even now, we just actually saw here in Broward County in Florida, they're going to be performing The Lion King and a few of the other Disney. And I'm trying to get my children. We got to see it during the Christmas break last year, Aladdin on Broadway, which was beautiful. But I think what you do in the arts, it's sad that some schools are taking it out of the schools, and they need to add it in and multiply it. But one other area you touched on, which is kind of frustrating, obviously more for you, was things like being misdiagnosed, or maybe not being diagnosed early enough, or here's a new one, having a doctor that might not or shouldn't really be in that profession. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because these are the things. And the next question is, what, motivated you to become an advocate. I think some of these things might have.
Well, yeah, it was a couple of things in that I got mad at this man. In fact, I lodged a complaint. He lost his license. It was a few patients as well, not just myself. But going back to the work, I had something weird happen, something completely out of my realm of imagination. I put a tweet out that went viral. It's at this point, last I checked, it was close to 22,000 views, and it was bizarre. But it led me. What happened, George, was I was feeling bad, and I wrote my philosophy for life. Sometimes when you have an illness like Parkinson's, where there's no known cure, and you know it's progressive, you get real fast. You get focused fast. And suddenly I clear out a lot of the crap in my life. So I wrote this. This is my philosophy for life. Parkinson's reminds me how precious life is. And I am very aware of my diminishing time and energy to get things done. So I've removed negative people from my life. I focus on today and what I can leave behind. And if I hear good music playing, you can bet you I'll be dancing to it. And then I did a little dance in my kitchen, and my niece filmed it, and I just put it out there and forgot about it. And next thing I know, people are just immediately spontaneously responding back by dancing and saying, F you, Parkinson's, and other things like that. And people from all over the world. And then Rochelle Flanagan, she's an amazing woman, a dietitian who has Parkinson's as well. I think you interviewed her. And she's one of the earlier members in PD Avengers. And she approached me and asked me to help work with her to, sorry, I'm just picking something, to put together the dopamine dance against PD. And that became a really big, wide global movement. And we even got Dr. Boss Bloom dancing with us. So it was great.
And isn't that every year? It's coming up in April, right? I believe. I think
Yes.
my wife and I are going to try and do a little something for it. We won't be.
It's
We're not going to
fantastic.
be as good as you all, but we'll try.
No, actually, you mentioned you have a back injury, so do I, and
Yeah.
I'm unable to do that little dance. I think because I ended
Do a
up
chair
dancing.
dance. What about from the chair? You just did it.
Well, yeah, I'll do it.
Perfect. That's still better than what I'm going to do. That's perfect. See, we got it on footage now. This is going to go viral. See?
Okay.
And so why did you why did you decide to do mime, like the career or the area? Like, because again, like I said, I look for some unique individuals when I started out. Now I've been doing it so long that I kind of feel like I've seen a lot. And I always say to myself, the only journey that breaks my heart is the one that I'm not aware of still today. Because there are people out there who need a voice and I just don't know them or they don't know me. And that's why I love that I had the opportunity to meet you and so many incredible people and share their journeys, because now they're known and they'll be forever, because I'm not going to stop, like, but why that's such a unique area? No one else is doing it in my research.
Well, there actually is somebody, and I'd like to give credit to Rob Merman. He's from Vermont. He's another, in fact, if you want to go robmerman.com, he has a Parkinson's project. And I talked with him, and we had little collaborations, and he's given me his blessings and permission to build on his good work. So he was a mime artist who studied with Marcel Marceau in Paris, and he also had a Circus Smirkus, and he was working with people with Parkinson's when he got diagnosed with PD in 2014. And he found the mime was really, really good for being able to do illusions of things you do every day anyhow, like getting dressed, eating food. So just walking a dog or carrying a glass across the room. And then he added another element, which I've incorporated with his blessings, and that was to work with circus arts. For example, I give people a peacock feather, and they have to focus their attention on the colorful feathers at the top. And if they're able to walk, they walk across the room balancing it. And if they're unable to walk, they're sitting and trying to balance it. And it seems like every time we do that, the people who have shaky hands, the hands stop shaking. So some interesting large movements and shifting of the brain by creating new neurological pathways. There's so much fun too. We have a hoot.
So obviously that helps therapeutically, but how does your organization and what you do, how does that also help, and what are some of the future goals? In a moment, I'm going to share your website so we can all take a look together live. So, but if you could just maybe touch on that.
Yeah, basically, we're in a point where there's only right now myself.
Like me,
And
same thing.
yeah. So I
It might
think
look good. It looks like we're a huge, like an army, right? But no, it's just.
it's just us. So what we're planning is succession. So in order to harness what I know, because there are not a lot of people out there who know how to teach mime and do mime. So I'm writing a manual, and I had initially at the 300 level course at the university called Mime Over Mind, 9 students, and they're brilliant. They're all going into different healing areas like music therapy, occupational therapy, theater art therapy, to help people with movement disorders. And they learned to be fluent in mime, and then they taught the 400 level students mime. And now together they're working with people with Parkinson's and fine-tuning their skill set. So I'm hopeful there'll be some certification to control the quality and roll this out after I'm no longer able to do it myself.
When you were younger, like I know, I remember Abbott and Costello, and is that Charlie Chaplin? Is that who inspired you? Or like, just curious, because a lot of people you might not think would even know what it is. Sadly, I grew up knowing, but also, so the newer generation, they might not even be able to see the black and white. My grandmother had the TV with the ears still, and
Yes.
I miss that. And Frank Sinatra, that's my kind of stuff. I was born in the wrong era, I think.
I saw Marcel Marceau when I was about 14 years old live, and it was magical, life-changing. And I said, I want to do what he's doing. Only I did things a little weird. I would have a puppet, a character, and hello, be chatting with that. And I also was an illustrator.
Remember
So
Lamb Chop? Remember Lamb Chop?
yes, I do. Charlie horse as well. And I ended up doing masks as well, mask making and puppetry and interactive books. But I found the simplest thing is no equipment. If you can just be yourself and learn how to stand in neutral position and what that feels like. Now, when we teach mime, we're playing with the brain. We're layering many senses so that we might start with a mug like this, and you hold it, shut your eyes, feel it. What's the weight? What's the shape? Any texture to wake your brain up to these objects. Now create it again, but only in mime. And it's amazing. We're stimulating different parts of the brain. It helps to have sound as well. Layering the senses and learning helps you retain it. So like throwing a ball. I'll take this ball. I'm going to throw it to this hand. So I'll do it in slow motion. Ooh. Okay. Ooh. And so forth and so on. So with mime, what we're doing is really waking the body up. We start with the face. So you do facial isolations and wake the face up, then the core of your body, and start focusing on being aware of when your body is not moving the way it's supposed to. Like I didn't know I was not moving my right arm when I was walking. I did not know I was dragging my right foot. And I did not know I had a poker face. I had no expression like that. but I wake it up consciously, purposefully every hour. I have to, because Parkinson's wants to take me down. It's like a mist, a gray white mist, pushing me down, wanting to make me quiet, wanting to put me to sleep, and push me in a corner. And I say, no, 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 no. Parkinson's can't stop me from dancing and having a good time and living a meaningful life.
Well, I think you're bringing art back that is really needed in society, and I wish more people, hopefully this will help a little with awareness, but whether you have Parkinson's or not, I think we should have that back in the society, because I think there was a reason it was so popular back then, and it shouldn't just be forgotten either. So I appreciate all that. I'm going to also share now, just for a moment, your website, and hopefully I get it onto the right one. And then let's see, there we go. Hopefully you can see it.
Yeah.
Perfect. So this is basically what I call an incredible website because it's beautiful. Maybe you could just talk us through a little bit, and also wanted to show have your other website. So maybe anyone listening, please make sure to look for mimeovermind.com and also salsbergmathews.com, but I'll put it also in the notes, but you take it away.
Well, if you want to, since we're on that page, George, why don't you go to paintings on the category on the far left? Because I want to show people what I used to do. Click on buildings. Buildings probably would be the best. Scroll down, if you don't mind, to the second image, that one. That's the work I used to do. Hyper realistic acrylic painting. And there's so many fine details. Within the windows, there's a couple of pussycats. I've got some people down below. And if you scroll in, I don't know if you can, but there's a street sign. And my hand, that's when I first noticed it shaking. I could not paint that sign. It was very hard. So, but then if you move out of that image to back to the general page of my that site, go down to other projects on the far left, because this is what under commercial design. Yeah. Here's what I had to do instead of painting, because I couldn't paint for 2 years after my diagnosis. I was actually kind of depressed because my hands weren't working right. So I started playing with food, and I made poutine. And when Ukraine was invaded, and if you scroll down, you might see some other figures. That's Deli Dawn, and I used corn silk for the hair. And then below that is our Ontario Premier, Doug Ford, here in Canada. And so just, you can get out of this website, that's okay. What I did, George, was I played with food, and it made me laugh, and it was therapeutic, and I sold t-shirts and made some funds to help the people of Ukraine. But in the meantime, my body, I started to help heal my body. So if you go over to Mime Over Mind link, maybe let's just move down a little bit to Move with Mime. That heading there, Move with Mime. I think there may be some pictures there. Well, I work on the 6 principles of PD Mime, and I touched on it briefly. You have to first be aware that you might be doing something that you want to change, the way you're moving. And then you observe how you are doing it incorrectly. And then number 3, you analyze what is involved in moving correctly. In my case, I was using the example of drinking from a glass of water, because I kept spilling it on my feet as I walked across the room. And then number 4 is important to use your brain to visualize what it looks like to, in this case, pick up a glass of water and walk across the room normally. So you create a movie in your mind's eye. And then number 5 is mime. Recreate that movement correctly in mime. And then finally, number 6, where you do the mime illusion in real life. You now use the real glass and walk across the room. And doing that has helped me tremendously. These are the building blocks of mime in order to place your hand correctly and around the object. And if you scroll down, there's a funny screenshot of my face. I'm teaching how to do the mime wall. Yeah, I think, and then below that oh, I look crazy though. I really, that was from the back pain there, George. I remember you said you have also back problem. So
Yeah.
that was from the medication. And then below, there's some other mind concepts that we take people through to
Yeah.
rewire the brain. And I think if you go below, maybe, oh yeah, if you want to go to about, you can. It's basically just a photo of me being crazy. I love love, and it talks about my background there. I regularly put updates. If you go to the top column on the screen on the far right, there's some updates, and I was very, very honored by Parkinson's Europe highlighting me as one of the inspiring people for the community and Parkinson's community. That was, I was very surprised and very, very touched. And
This is a picture I think I met you.
that's right. That's right. That's me at 19 years old. And it was a magical time for me, having my own theater company and touring. Yeah, I was very happy. But for now, I'm using it to heal.
Right.
Yeah, I'm using mime to, and I found it, I was able to move my arm now. There's a podcast I was involved in off periods with Dr. Sylvia Rota and Parkinson's Europe. I'm now also helping, maybe I'm not quite answering your question, George, but
Sure.
I'm now
I'm enjoying it. I love it. This is great.
I'm working, volunteering for Michael J. Fox organization in New York. And I've been asked to do a couple of video clips for them. Oh, we're just cutting to a nice image here on the screen of the Dream Team, our wonderful, those are three of the professors on our team. And they are amazing to believe in what I'm doing and to give their expertise behind it in the research. And I think, yes, I was at the World Parkinson's Congress in Barcelona, and what a wonderful place to meet so many brilliant people and find out you're not alone. There's so many supports out there. And I'm just, in some ways, Parkinson's has given me the silver lining of.
I'll be able to meet you at the next one if you can make it to the US. I heard it's going to be around.
Do you know where offhand, which, where in the US they have, I don't.
There's rumors, but I'm not going to say. I don't want to be. We're being recorded live, so but I don't. Unfortunately, I didn't get any inside information yet. But I hope we get the chance to meet. And then I'll be at the New York City Unity Walk coming up in April. I think it's the 29th. So hopefully anyone listening, come join us out there. And even if you can't walk, just sit next to me, because I probably won't be walking either. I'll just be saying hi to everybody supporting them.
So you can go out of this screen if people are interested in some of the ideas. If you go back, there I have under the course, I have links. I guess if you go to the very top, George, under course, yeah, that's the truth. Because there, I put things in people can immediately use. Practice facial isolation exercise. I go through it with everyone. So there's a lot there that might be of relevance to people.
I appreciate it. Amazing. Yeah. And it's amazing too how it grows. I always thought TogetherForSharon would have 5, 6 people, and there's a little counter hidden in the bottom of the first page, and we've had over 30,000 people visit. So, and
one thing, George, I want to point out that is important, that I don't accept payment with my work. After expenses, if I have to incur expenses, fine, that's separate. But beyond that, I don't do this for profit at all. I really don't care. I don't care about fame. At this point, for me, if I do get an honorarium, I donate it back for Parkinson's research, because there's so many that are coming after me that need the help.
think that's important. I do the same thing. It's sad because then even 2024, when I say I'd like to, do an interview or just share your journey and I don't want anything, they think that there's a catch. It's almost like the show where, hey, wait, there's more, but there's not. And
I get that all the time.
it's
Yeah,
sad that we both probably find ourselves struggling to explain, no, we just want to help. We don't want anything in return.
yeah. It took a while. Now I usually say it up front, and
Mhm.
that gets the elephant out of the room.
But
And then, because I was doing a workshop just last week, and they were all thinking, okay, I'm going to make the university rich, and everybody will get money. And no, no, no. This is really to give back.
no, I appreciate you sharing that with us and everybody listening today. Just a few more questions. First is the volunteer work besides what you're already doing. Not that you have any more time, but even though you don't, you still find it. And with Parkinson's, what particular area of research and creation of resources are you doing? And also maybe you could touch on the facial campaign that you're now doing, because I see it popping up everywhere.
Yeah, that's great. Well, why don't I talk about that first? And if you notice, I'm writing notes.
Sure.
It's because the PD fog, that is a symptom that I'm not happy about, where in the middle of a sentence, I forget. So I have to jot this down. The Face PD campaign is to build awareness towards building up to World Parkinson's Day, April 11th. And I'm working with two brilliant women. Packy, oh, I forget Packy's last name. She's going to be so upset with me. She was very involved in the Parkinson's group. And
I interviewed her also.
okay, so what's Packy's last name? I forgot.
Isn't it RAQI, I believe? I could be wrong, but we could pull her up. I don't want to take time, but we could bring her.
Don't be mad, Packy, don't be mad. And of
Good thing
course,
is a lot of us are known just by our first names. I'm Sharon son George, so
I'm gonna check up on Nina because I know Nina, she will get mad. Let me see. Nina Junker, I think,
yeah.
JUNKR, amazing person. She initiated the Spark campaign, Spark for PD Avengers. And we're working together. Well, basically, it was Packy was feeling sad. So Nina made the little faces to cheer her up. And next thing you know, we see that this could be a wonderful way to educate people about one of the symptoms of Parkinson's, which is the Parkinson's mask. Hypomimia, I forget the professional name. And that my using facial isolations in my teaching, that I loan them my face. So I did crazy things like that. Or this one always gets them. So they use my face, and then because my first language is English, I did some corrections and grammar, that sort of thing. But I really think that this is a fun and engaging initiative to involve people. Just wake up your face and hashtag face PD.
Yeah, everyone, please share that and support Barbara. And one more area, can you tell me your hope with the stem cell research? I know now we have the biomarker that came out last year, and unfortunately, a lot of this is now getting better. It's my mother didn't have that opportunity, but it's nice to see change. But obviously, we're all going to keep fighting until we have the actual cure. But maybe you could touch. Even I was talked about with stem cell with my back, so it's amazing the technology that's coming out, but maybe you can touch on that.
I know nothing about stem cell research, so I couldn't tell you, but I can tell you I have an imagination.
Right.
And sometimes you get answers through our crazy wild dreams. And I did the PD gene test. They wanted a research study on that. So they took blood from many people with Parkinson's to see if they had I think there were 7 markers. I don't have any markers. So I got Parkinson's from exposure, pollutants. And I'm pretty sure it's related to my career working with hazardous art materials in a poorly ventilated room without knowledge. We didn't know 30 years ago how to clean up art necessarily, or supplies, or store them safely, especially glazes for chemicals of ceramic. pottery and copper enamel kilns. We had a lot of the glade with lead, barium, cadmium. So I'm gonna say this to you. What was the question? That's my part. I've lost my train of thought, George. What
I
was
have
the
so many questions that we have to go to the.
Oh, stem cell. Okay, so I'm back on track. And then after PD gene, and I found out I had none of the chemicals. Then I was asked to participate in another research study where I had an ankle bracelet on. They tracked me for 2 weeks. They sent me an Apple Watch to track my sleep. And then at the end, they take my own cells, stem cells, and I don't understand this, but they're going to do something and put it back in me. And my crazy dream is this. Okay, can they reset my cell so it was the way it was when I was born, healthy? And can they make it so that that same cell can reprogram, recalibrate my brain? So then I'm cured. I don't have Parkinson's anymore. It's a far-fetched crazy dream, but sometimes,
Yeah, we have to always keep hoping, and somebody out there hopefully will find the cure.
it might be looking us right in the eye for all we know, George. It might be right there.
Here's another question more on the caregiver side, but who helps you during the tough times? I was a caregiver, but what tips do you give those, listening who might be caregivers?
Well, first of all, my caregiver is my husband, Bruce, and
I said hi. I hope to meet him one day.
he's wonderful. I didn't know you could fall in love with someone twice, even if you never fell out of love.
Yeah.
That's who he is. I think it's important that they need to take care of themselves. Because you can't nurture others if you're not taking care of yourself. So I keep saying, Bruce, join a PD support group for care partners, caregivers. And maybe in time he will. We've been very busy. And then I also think that people should get accurate information. Because sometimes if people take on too much and think they can handle it, get accurate information, get support, get correct support. Because you don't want to burn out. You have to stay strong and hope. We need hope. Always have to have a little joy, fun. I always have a little music at the back of my mind and some crazy joke.
You kind of touch on this, one of the final questions, but likely someone listening may have been diagnosed with Parkinson's. What advice could you give them?
Well, I think it's really good if they could not be alone and get that support group. If they can't get a PD support group in real life, I know that Michael J. Fox has the buddy program, and also you can through social media you can get into very helpful groups, and I also think that they need to become their own advocate and not to sit back and wait for others to rescue them. Count on getting accurate support, taking care of your health, all the different areas, sleep, food, etc. And if possible, and this is very hard because there's a shortage of them, see a movement disorder specialist. And even get on a waiting list to get a good doctor, because you don't want to just necessarily be seen fast and then have the path that I had unfold.
I love to. Oh, that was perfect. I love to ask some oddball question or out of the script. If you were asked about scripts, but if you were asked to write a script to a movie about your life story, what would you call it? That's a tough one.
Badass Barbara. Yeah.
And then it'll be a Broadway show, I hope.
Badass Barbara meets gregarious George.
And finally, since you kind of answered it when I interviewed you for the website, you could leave the Parkinson's community today with some words of encouragement, which you kind of did already, but what would they be?
Make PD your bitch. I'm not going to let this yeah, make PD my bitch, because I tell you honestly, every day I have to work with attitude and action. And the best thing that I found is not just focusing on taking care of me, but what can I leave behind? And that helps keep my focus. So I don't waste my energy and time on something that will just bring me down. Stress is bad for people with PD. Very bad. It saps my energy and sets off my symptoms. So I try to make a point to help others, and it makes me feel less sad about myself. I'm volunteering now with a woman who has ALS, and her partner and their child, and we're doing art of treasured memories together, and that makes me feel good in that I'm not focusing on my own problems so much, and I'm bringing joy to others.
Well, I really want to thank you for your time, and this can't end here, everyone. This conversation has to continue. We have to support Barbara and all she does. I mean, I see her every day and I smile because she just does such wonderful things and inspires me to keep going, even on the hard days. But I just wanted to see if there's any final comments you had or anything you wanted to share.
Well, I hope that people check out my website at mimeovermind.com. And if you're interested in updates, to send me an email. And if you have a question, I can be reached at mimeovermind@gmail.com. So mime, MIME, at mime over mind, the mind, the brain.
I
And
mean,
I'll leave you with a few little mime illusions. I'm gonna bing. There you go. Oh, lipstick. Sorry, I just there you go.
well, while you're doing that, you can keep going, but this will be, I just wanted to thank you again, but I always end every podcast with a little message to you and to everyone that we love you, we support you, we care a lot about you, and you're never alone. I, along with Barbara, will advocate for you, and together our voices are so much stronger. And I always kind of joke in a way and say I'm just getting started because I wake up every day, I see somebody like you who inspires me, and it makes me really jump up and get going. Otherwise, I might give up. So I want to thank you too and everyone out there for listening. This has been another episode of the Q&A with Sharon's son, George. And I just really so grateful for your time. And again, everyone, please share this. Please support Barbara. And again, this has to continue. We're not going to stop till we find a cure for Parkinson's. And you're really a beautiful person, soul, and I consider family. So thank you again so much.
My heart to yours, George. Thank you very much for what you do for us.
I appreciate the Parkinson's community open their arms to me, and I really just send back the same to everybody 24/7. As you can see, last night I didn't even sleep thinking about you and everybody else out there, which like goes against what you advise, but I can't help it.
Careful yourself, George. Get your sleep now.
We will,
Thank
I
you.
won't say this is the end. This will be continued. So thank you. And thank you everyone for listening. And we send our love, and please look out for so many more incredible things, movements. And we're coming to April again, Parkinson's Awareness Month. I hope we don't all get burnt out from that month, but it'll be well worth it. So thank you all again. Have a great night.
You too. Thanks.